Hello everyone, this is Max Gregorich from GAGE Motorsports, here to introduce you to the patent pending GAGE Stout PS1 GX200 cylinder head that has been purposely designed and built for racing. Over the past 30 plus years, people have been having issues with the cylinder heads for the GX200. Well, we've listened to those complaints and those ideas and those suggestions from numerous racers and engine builders, and we've come up with solutions to pretty much all the complaints that people were having. So the long wait is now over. First, I want to talk about how legal is it. AKRA has made this head legal for all stock appearing and up and classes. That's the modifieds, the limited modifieds, etc. And they've also made it mandatory for the new pure stock class. This head is currently illegal in the box stock and the pro classes. And I say currently, if you get my drift. So let me introduce you to some of the changes and the benefits of the new PS1 head. First, I'd like to show you the new port design. If you notice in this area and in this area, the infamous bowls are gone. Many drivers and engine builders were filling those bowls up with some epoxy or metal impregnated epoxy to try to get a better flow out of the head, and meeting with quite a bit of success on the intake side, but not on the exhaust side because of the high temperatures, just blowing that epoxy out. These are now going to be cast in a way that the bowls are now gone. This is a section view, obviously, of the cylinder head. This matching section view will show the short side radius, and you can see we've changed that radius considerably in that area and in this area for both the intake and the exhaust. And what that's going to do is it's going to help the flow quite a bit. The radius has been increased to a point where the intake mixture will no longer separate from the wall as it turns that corner. The end result is at least a 30% increase in flow, and I can also show you what those ports look like if you're just looking at the two ports. See the nice smooth radii around this bend, even around this short side here. Now, as we go into the casting model, there's a number of things that we've done to the casting to change certain dimensions and supports. So the first thing we've done is in between the first and the second fin, we've added all in this area here, all these surfaces, we've actually made them match that surface. So this surface has been copied and put between the first and second fin. We've done that for a couple of reasons. One was to stiffen the head, because there were many drivers and engine builders that were finding the heads warping once the gasket surface here has been machined or decked, as some people put it, to get a smaller combustion chamber and increase the compression ratio. But once they mill that material off, the heads had a tendency of warping. And when they do that, obviously they blow head gaskets. Another thing we've done is in this area here, we've added some material. And the reason we did that is so that right here, you'll see a notch cut in this fin, and that notch was there so that if you decide you're going to want to put another head bolt in, you can actually machine a hole through here, through to the other side, transfer that hole into your cylinder, tap that hole, and actually put another head bolt in. The head bolt might be a little bit smaller than your other 4 head bolts, but it won't take much to create a better seal to keep from blowing a head gasket in this area. You'll also notice there's no combustion chamber cast into this head. The reason we did that was because we're going to CNC the combustion chambers, whether they be 22, 18, 14, or any custom shape that an engine builder might want. The pure stock class, we're going to CNC the combustion chamber, and we're going to CNC both ports to stock dimensions. That will be the only class that we CNC the ports for. Engine builders can buy this head in various configurations, but none of them will have CNC ports because engine builders have their own little secrets for porting, and we want to make sure that their customers have the access to their magic. And every engine builder has their own preferences. Another thing you're going to see is this area here is now completely filled in. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One, to add support to the boss for the trunnion screw that mounts into here. And the other reason we did that was because we wanted to add material to the outside of the port. And we've done that to both ports. So if you look at this surface here, these surfaces down in here, we've added 40 thousandths to the outside of the ports, allowing porting to be much larger, or at the very least you'll be able to change the direction or the shape of the port in a way that you can get it perhaps to flow much better. Another thing we did was this surface here, which is the gasket surface on both the intake and exhaust, we've added material to the length here. In other words, we've made this section here longer. So this surface sticks out another 1/4 of an inch, and this surface sticks out another 1/4 of an inch. And we did that so that engine builders that might want to change the angle of that slightly, change the angle of your carburetor mount, change the angle of your exhaust mount. The reason for that is kind of obvious, so that you can get a better approach on your carburetor side and a better approach on your exhaust side. So now let's go over to a finished product. This is the finished product. And you'll see first that we have a combustion chamber. This is the 22cc. Again, we're going to CNC this in for all the stock heads. We can also CNC an 18, a 14, or anything special that you want. We can do that without welding because we cast these without a combustion chamber. And for the pure stock class, the reason we're CNCing these and the ports is so that every head is identical. No one will have an advantage or a disadvantage, and that's one of the problems in all of the stock classes. Another thing that we did was there is a boss here that people use, which is this one here, to mount their exhaust pipe bracket. And many people were breaking that boss off. So what we did was we increased the diameter, the outside diameter, which is that surface, to give it a little bit more strength. In addition, we've also added all of this material in here to support it, where previously there was a very thin fin, the same thickness as this fin, that just came up and supported that. Now you have all of this material to support that. Another place we've added some material was this bottom surface. This is the cavity where your springs and rockers are. And there's two areas. If you're using heavier springs or you're using dual springs and you need to spot face that surface and that surface deeper in order to get the correct spring heights, many people were finding themselves breaking through this bottom wall before they got to the right spring heights. We've added 1/8 of an inch, all of this material. The old cylinder heads ended somewhere around this blue line here, and we've added all of this material to add 1/8 of an inch so that you can spot face these two surfaces without worrying about breaking through or getting so thin that you can get actually a vibration in the casting down here when you are getting very thin, and that vibration can transfer harmonically to the springs, and at certain RPMs you can get spring breakage or complete failure and end up floating your valves or your rockers. So we've added that material there to those spring pockets. We've also done something with this little hole here. This little hole that goes through the head and it comes out right here. We've changed that. Oop, let me rotate this around. Oop. Rotate. We've changed the diameter of that hole, and we've also moved it. What people were doing were, this was a much larger hole prior. What people were doing was driving a brass tube into that larger hole so that they can increase the distance between the combustion chamber and the edge of that hole, because people were blowing head gaskets right in that area. So we took that smaller diameter and we're going to drill that hole in and actually moved it over to the edge of where the old hole used to be. And by moving that over, we've increased this distance even more, helping the head gasket blowing issue. And it's also been slightly redirected so that when it comes out here, there's a better mist hitting your rockers and your springs, trying to keep them cool. There's also additional improvements that we've made that we can't talk about yet because they can't be used yet, but over the next few months you're going to hear about and see some of the other improvements that we've made to this cylinder head. So in the meantime, let me put up these phone numbers again. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me, Max, a call at 702-845-7181, or you can call Lewis Stout at Stout Racing Engines at 423-584-6663. If you're an engine builder, there are many configurations that you can buy this cylinder head in, from a raw casting where you can do all the machining to partial machining. We can basically create the casting that you would like to buy and then modify for your customers. Just give us a call and we'll be more than happy to take care of you. So again, if you have questions, give us a call at GAGE Motorsports or Stout Racing Engines. Be happy to talk to you, and stay tuned for some of the other improvements that we've made to this head, which will be coming out in a few months. And by the way, these heads should be available for purchase starting now, with delivery beginning probably sometime in the middle of June, or I'm sorry, middle of July of this year, 2018. Again, give us a call. More than happy to talk to you, and stay tuned for future benefits. Thanks for listening.